Today we'll be discussing outlining your speech. So for this course, for each presentation, you'll be required to complete a detailed or formal outline that goes along with your speech. So today we'll be talking about the process of that, some basic rules and tips on how to get started, and what your presentation outline should look like. So to begin, where are you going to start? When you're ready to start your outline, what should you have already completed? So at that point, you need to know your topic. You need to know your specific purpose. Are you informing? Are you persuading? If you're persuading, what exactly are you trying to persuade your audience for? And then you'll continue to your thesis, which is the central main idea of your speech that should also include what you're trying to accomplish, such as your purpose. Beyond that, you need to know your three main points. You may have gone through the process of creating a concept map or a web organizer like we discussed in the organization lecture. That's a way to brainstorm and really begin to develop each main point and subpoints. And from there, you will have collected your research and support material that you want to include in your outline. So what is a detailed or a formal outline? It is a thorough outline used to develop your speech. It should be relatively detailed to include your entire speech. Each idea should be written in complete sentences. It is not an essay or a composition, and it is not just a rough sketch of your speech's main ideas. So what you submit for this class should not look like what you would submit in an English class when you're completing a composition or an essay. It is an outline. It's very detailed and it's formal, but it's an outline format and not an essay format. But it's also not really brief points or subpoints. So you go beyond just making a few bulleted points of your main ideas. You really develop your presentation within the outline. So outlining your presentation, there's different ways to develop a formal outline. This is the way we're going to do it in this course. You're going to use Roman numerals to outline your primary divisions of the outline or your main points. You'll use capital letters to outline your subpoints. You'll use Arabic numerals to outline your details. You'll use lowercase letters to outline your specific details, and lowercase Roman numerals to outline more specific details. Now, if you go beyond that within your outline, you would go to numbers in parentheses and then lowercase letters in parentheses if you had information beyond this process. So there's some rules to remember when you're outlining. This seems to be something that students struggle with a little bit. It's the pair rule. If you have a Roman numeral 1, you must have a 2. If you have a capital A, you must have a B. If you have a 1, you have to have a 2 within your outline. So make sure that you have at least pairs. You can add in C's, D's, 3's, 4's, any of those within the correct progression that you need to, but you just can't have just one lone subpoint underneath a main point, or one main point and nothing else. So when outlining the body of the speech, there's some things to remember. You'll use complete sentences. You'll use full sentences. You'll use proper labeling and indentions. So note here where you have your main points, then you go to subpoints, and then you go to details. And as you do each step, you indent or tab over so that it's very easy to align. Everything's aligned correctly, and it's easy to see where you are in your speech. You'll check for subordination. So subordination means you support your subpoint for the larger point that comes before them. And you also should be able to answer, this supports the purpose I'm making because. So whatever statement you make here, this supports that statement. And we'll look at that more with examples shortly. You include citations, quotations, and other evidence. So within your outline, you'll have parenthetical citations for things that you pulled out, such as specific statistics and direct quotes. And then you'll also include a works cited page to cite any source that you use in the development of your outline. Transitions are important. A transition is a sentence that indicates you are moving from one part of your speech to another. Your audience depends on you for being very clear and well organized to make sure you're guiding them from one point to the next. Transitions may also be referred to as signposts to ensure that your audience follows where you're going in your presentation. So we'll look at exactly what transitions are shortly. But these are the main things you need to keep in mind as you develop your outline. So you're going to outline your introduction. You'll have Roman numeral 1, introduction, and then you'll develop your attention getter, and you'll write that attention device out to the side. You'll have your thesis statement, including your purpose. You'll type that out under beside B, and then you'll preview your main points and you'll type out what those main points are. Also outline your conclusion. Similarly, you'll have conclusion, then you cue your conclusion. In conclusion, today we've discussed how to outline. So this sometimes will go together. We have discussed main points, subpoints, and details, and then provide a clear ending. In the future, I hope that you have an easier time when it comes to developing formal outlines for this class. So you'll type all of those things out to develop that conclusion. So this is in Canvas, and this is kind of an example of how outline progression should go. Like I said previously, there's some deviation that's allowed, and I'll show you the examples of that here in a second. With this format, the main points are Roman numerals, subpoints capital letters, and etc. There's another example that slightly differs. Either will work. So alternate progressions, your introduction is Roman numeral, body would be Roman numeral 2, and then your capital letters will be your first points, your main points. And then you'll expand and detail each of those. And then 3 would be conclusion. An alternate to that is Roman numeral would be introduction, each main point would be its own Roman numeral, and then finally your conclusion. Either one of those works, and you'll see that in a second with some examples. So let's look at a few examples here. We're going to start with the influences sample outline that I provided for you. This is a little bit different and a little less detailed than the next one, but you'll kind of see how it grows from your influences to your informative. So what I did in mine is that I have Roman numerals for the introduction, and each main point has a Roman numeral, and then they're developed from that. So that's how I do my outlines, and neither way is right or wrong. And then with mine, I included the transition word as I continued. So I would say first, I'm going to tell you this, and then you kind of develop your speech from there. Now notice the indentions. So main points are here, subpoints are all aligned there, details, specific details. So notice how that the outline is kind of progresses in that way, so that it's easy to follow where you are in your presentation. So this is one example. The other example is, there we go. Here's the other example, has a lot more detail, and this is really good. I like the transitions on this one. It's better than mine. So then it really outlines the attention getter. You have your attention getter written out, your thesis statement, your credibility, your preview of your main points, and then it goes on to this is the body. So number 2 becomes the body of the speech, and then each main point is a capital letter. So that's kind of how this speech goes. What I do want you to notice also is the transitions here. So this speech has a transition that before each point. So it says, now that we've discussed this, let's now move on and discuss this next thing. And that is by each one. So we have a transition between each point that tells you what you're doing, which is very helpful to kind of make sure that you know where you are in your speech. Notice again how the indentions really help with the outline, and it makes the progression much easier to follow. As you're beginning to develop your speeches, I encourage you to go to Canvas, and under the home page we have presentation information, and then there's outline and works cited page. So there's sample outlines for each speech except the narrative. I'm working on that. And so there's sample outlines here for you to look and follow and use as a guide. There's the basic outline help speech form that I put in the PowerPoint, but this really kind of breaks it down, it divides it, and also gives you those basic rules that you need to know when you develop your outline. I hope this assists you in the process as you begin in this class, and good luck, and please let me know if you have any questions.